Welcome to Admin Setup for Users, the Security Information section. Begin by selecting the Admin tab, then scrolling down to Users, and then select the user that you would like to edit. In this case, we're going to use this Peter Test. And we will be going over the middle section here, the Security section. So this section is going to cover the setup of the security settings for each of your individual users. You will be able to customize the security settings based on each employee, and you can determine which privileges you would like them to have within the software. The first one, minutes allowed to punch in early. This applies if you are using the punch clock within Atom. And if you would like to put in a control for how early an employee can punch in, you can. So for example, if you have an employee who is scheduled from 9 to 5, and if you put 5 here, and that means that that employee will only be able to punch in 5 minutes early. So if they actually get here and they punch in at 8:45, it'll allow them to punch in, but Atom will automatically adjust their time to 8:55 because you've told it that they can only punch in 5 minutes early. And it works the same way for minutes allowed to punch out late. So if you put a 5 here and your employee is scheduled till 5 o'clock, but they don't actually punch out until 5:15, then Atom, again, will go ahead and automatically adjust the time to 5:05 because that's what you've told it to do. If these fields are left blank, then the employees can punch in or out at any time, regardless of their work schedule. The next one for email, assign task, and events. If this box is checked, then any time that a task or a note that's within an event is assigned to this user, then an email will be generated and sent. So if we have an email address right here under the personal information section, and if you check that box, then every time a task is assigned to the employee, then they will get an email at this email address right here. So if you're not in the office and you would like to be notified when things are assigned to you, then you just need to make sure that that box is checked, and then you will get those notifications. And the text assign task events works the same way. So if you have a cell phone number here and a cell phone provider here, and you check that box, then that employee will receive a text when they have new tasks or notes within events assigned to them. The email system messages, so that works very similar also. If this box is checked, then anytime that a message is sent to you within Atom, then it will also go to the same email address that you have sent here. So if somebody within your office just sends you a message through Atom, you might not be in the office, but if you have that box checked, then you will get it to that personal email address that you have entered right there. So then you can be kept up to date on what's going on in the office if you would like. This comment section can be used for any notes that are related to the employee. So just anything that you wanted to put in there that you wanted to keep track of. Maybe you gave them a Christmas bonus and you want to be reminded of what you gave them. Only the users who have admin rights can see these comments. So if this user or this employee does not have admin rights, they won't even see this box here. So this is just for admin users to be able to see. The appointment notification type, this is so you can be notified of scheduled appointments if you would like. And what happens is it will generate a system message within Atom, and then you will get emailed with that message. So you have several different choices here. If you would like to be notified of just your requested appointments, so any appointments that are scheduled for me, and a client has requested me, if I check that box, then I will be notified every time I get a requested appointment. My non-requested appointments are any appointments that just happen to be scheduled under my name under the appointment scheduler. They may not be marked as requested, but they're just under my name. So if I would like to be notified of those appointments, I can. Or all my appointments will notify you of all the appointments that are scheduled for you, whether they are requested appointments or not. So anything that's listed under your name in the appointment calendar, you will be notified of. All my sites appointments, if you want to be notified of every appointment that's scheduled within your office, you can get that notification. And the last one is all appointments for all sites. So if you have multiple offices and you would like to be notified of all the appointments scheduled at all your offices, you can select that option. And if you don't want any notification for any appointments, then you can just select none. The next one is login screens allowed. So you can control how or when your users log in. So there's several different options here. The first one is normal login. That means that your user can log in to the full site at any time. So from any device that has internet, as long as they know how to get to Atom, they can log in at any time. The user portal login is more restrictive. And what users can see if they use the user portal login is they can see their assigned task, their messages, their appointments, and their work schedule. But they do not have access to your client database. So maybe if you have employees at home and they want to check their work schedule, then they can use the user portal login and not have access to your clients from outside the office. The next one is normal login based on work schedule. This is going to restrict users from the normal login unless they are within their scheduled work hours. So there's a couple things here. You have to make sure you have a work schedule built and you're saying which days and what times the employee is scheduled to work. And then if the employee tries to log into Atom outside of that time frame, they will not be allowed to log in using the normal login. So they would still have access to the portal login, though if they needed just to check their messages or their work schedule or something like that. So this is going to be really good, for, again, if you don't want employees accessing Atom outside of the office or outside of their work schedule, then you can select that option. Then the minutes allowed to log in early and the minutes allowed to log in late are tied to that. So if you're choosing the normal login based on work schedule, again, if you put 5 minutes in each one of these, they could actually log in 5 minutes before their work schedule or 5 minutes after their work schedule. So you're able to have that control. Employee hour edit permissions. You can control for each individual user whether or not you want them to be able to adjust hours on the punch clock. So if you select none, then they are not allowed to edit anybody's hours within the punch clock. Own entries means they can only adjust their own hours. All entries would allow them to edit anybody's hours. Then entries for that user's site. So if you have, an office managers at different sites and you want that office manager to be able to edit hours for employees at their site, so maybe you're not being bothered to have to adjust everybody's hours if somebody forgets to punch in or if they forget to punch out, and you have a trusted employee and you would like them to be able to edit hours for people within their site, then you can select entries for user sites. That would allow them to adjust those hours. And then also anybody who has admin rights does have the ability to adjust everybody's hours. Okay. The next is assigned by default for client portal emails. If this box is checked, then the user would be notified every time the office receives a message through the client portal. This might be nice to have turned on maybe during the off season. You may not be logged into Atom every single day, like you might be more during tax season when it's busier. Then if you check that box, and if one of your clients sends something, a message or a document to you through the portal, you would be notified of it. Then you could log into Atom to check that portal message and you wouldn't be missing anything. View total hours in work schedule. So if this box is checked, then the user would be able to see how many hours people are scheduled to work within a week. And I'll show you where you can see that. So if we go to the work schedule, you can see here, so that box is checked on mine, so I'm able to see how many hours everybody is scheduled to work this week. So this is nice for a couple of reasons. So if you're the person who's in charge of building a work schedule and you're trying to keep people within a certain number of hours, or you don't want them to go into overtime, Atom's going to keep track of those hours for you. And you can see here, if you have somebody scheduled over 40 hours, it's going to be in red and notify you of that. So if you're trying to avoid overtime, then it's very easy to see how many hours you have somebody scheduled to work within a week. Okay, the next one would be disregard availability schedule. If this box is checked, then you will be able to build a work schedule without having to do an availability schedule first. So if your office is pretty set and pretty consistent and you know when people are available, you don't have to bother to take the time to build an availability schedule. You can just go straight ahead and build that work schedule if you like. If you have employees maybe who have, maybe you're hiring a bunch of part-time employees and they have various hours on various days, you may want them, or you may want to build an availability schedule so you know when they are available before you build that work schedule, but you're not required to do that. Disregard work schedule works in the same way. So if this box is scheduled, then you are able to schedule appointments for this user without having to build a work schedule first. So if you know somebody is there, every day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, then you don't have to put them on the work schedule, but you would still be able to go ahead and schedule appointments for them. Allow to view other users' tasks. If this box is checked, then the user can see anybody's assigned task. So you might want your office managers to be able to see tasks that's assigned to everybody so they can make sure that those tasks are getting done. So you can control if you want your user to just only be able to see their own task, or if you would like them to view everybody's task, you have that option. Allow account event modifications. This is where you can control who has the ability to edit or delete events. You want to be careful probably who you give this to, because you don't want people to be able to accidentally close an event or delete an event if something hasn't been done the correct way. So you can choose, and you may only have, a couple trusted employees who you would like to give this to so they can delete events or close them out. Display lobby record count on header. So if you select here, display only on selected site, and if you can scroll up to the top, you can see here, this is going to show that at this office, we have 3 people sitting in our lobby right now. So no matter where you are within Atom, you will always see this across the top, so you can see how many people may be sitting and waiting out in your lobby. If you have multiple sites and select display all sites, then you will be able to see here, you would have it up here, your multiple sites would be listed, and you would be able to see how many clients are in the lobby for each one of those sites. Display current appointments on header. If that box is checked, then you will be able to see here when your appointment is here. So If your office is not somewhere where you can see the lobby and you may not know what's going on out there, you'll be able to be notified right here when your client walks in and how long that they've been sitting there. Display expanded client information section. If this box is checked, then every time that this user goes into a client's file, they will be able to see the full contact information section. If it's not checked, then they're going to see a more condensed version. And I will show you what this will look like. So if we search for a client, so we'll grab a client here. So I do not have the box checked. So if you check that box that says Display Expanded Client Information section, then every time I go into a client's file, I am going to get the full contact information section. So that's going to show all of the addresses and everything. If I do not check that box, it's going to give me the condensed version where basically you're going to see names, phone numbers, and email addresses. So you can choose which view you would like to have for that. Restrict user access to his or her default site. So each user is given a default site up here under the personal information. If you have multiple sites here, then, and if that box is checked, then that means that that user would only be able to access their work schedule, appointment schedule, and clients for their site if that box is checked. Display collapsed other accounts section. So again, I will show you how you'll see this in the client's file. So if that box is checked and you're in a client's file, you're only going to see the last year that they were here or any incomplete years. So we'll go back to our client here. And this is going to be the other accounts section. So I have it checked where it shows the collapsed version. So I'm only going to see the last year that this client was here. If I check that box, then anytime I'm in the client's file, it's automatically going to have this expanded, so you're going to see all the years. So again, it's just a personal preference on if you want to see more information every time you're in a client's file or if you want it more condensed. But you always have the option within the client's file to expand it or condense it if you like. The next one is display on client portal schedule appointment page. If you are choosing to allow your clients to schedule appointments from the portal, then you need to be able to select which users are going to show up for them to choose from. So if this box is checked, then when your clients go to the portal to schedule an appointment, this user's name is going to show for them to select to schedule appointments with. But another thing is, if you're allowing appointments to be scheduled from the portal, you also need to make sure that you build a work schedule for this user. So then your clients can see what employees they can choose from and from which times. Okay, the next one is allow users to double book appointments. You may have a couple of things going on at the same time within your day, and you want to see them all on your appointment calendar. So, maybe, you're blocking some time off because you don't want any appointments scheduled, and maybe you're scheduling sometimes to make a couple of phone calls or something like that. You have the ability to put two things on the appointment calendar at the same time if you would like to do that. But again, that's probably one of those ones that you probably want to be careful with because you may not want people to have this and double book appointments if they don't really know how that works, because you definitely don't want to get double booked. The assigned task reminder, which is number of days after the assigned task. So if you want Atom to send out automatic reminders about tasks that have been assigned, you can do that. All you need to do is put in the number of days here So if we put in 2, then 2 days after a task is assigned, and if it's still an open task, Adam's going to send me a reminder that, hey, you still have this task and you need to go ahead and get that task completed. So once you've selected all of your security information for your particular user, all you need to do is click Save, and then that is it for the admin setup, user security information. Thank you.